Hello viewers, welcome to Core for Any. If you hear new, hit subscribe buttons and notification bell so you can never miss any our incredible content. Node.js app API and backend API inside. Today we need to create here the driver write cancels API we need to develop here. First of all, we need to create here the post methods, not postmans, post methods app post, and to give this here the API names API slash driver cancel. Right. Now need to set here the request parameters and response callbacks. Need to get this here function operators like this gets here. Now need to write down here the helper dot dlogs and to write down here request body, right, print here these parameters. Now need to save this variable inside the request object inside this value request dot body. We need to use this here, and then after need to verify here the access tokens for these users. Need to write down here the access tokens, give this here the request headers request dot headers, and then after need to give this here the response objects, and to get this here the callbacks events, to get here user objects like this, and to function operators like this calls here. Now need to check this here the helper dot parameters. Need to check this API valids or not. Need to give this here the response object request objects, and to check here which parameters need to need this here. First of all need to need this here the booking ID, and then after need to need this here booking status like this for this ride, and to write down here the function operators, otherwise need to get this here the errors like this. And then after need to check here the if conditions. Need to check request object dot booking status equal to bs slash wait for users, or request status dot booking status equal to bs dot go to users, then we to else, and to write down here the suggestions. Success false, and status need to give this here as a 0. Message like this, right, send to drivers ride cancels not available. To write down here the proper message, not ride cancelled, only recall ride is available. Before starting of like this proper message need to set this here for the status. Now we need to write down here the one functions for the write cancels common functions we need to develop, as well as need to same functions need to use for the driver app. User driver apps need to driver and user app both are need to same functions need to call for the canceling these writes need to write down here the user write cancels functions need to create here write down here the function and to give this here the names user write cancel and to need this here pass the parameters booking id, then also need to need this here the booking status, and also need to needs here user id, and also give this here user type, then is forcefully closed like this packs, and to return here the callback function like this need to creating here the functions and to call here. First of all need to give this here the date times, need to write down here write cancel time is equal to helper dot date time like this sets. Now we need to give this here the id is equal to key names, need to give this here user id like this, then after need to check times is equal to accepted times columns need to set this here tables, and need to write down here the response this is, and now is driver cancels need to check this here the flag by default need to give this here the 0. No, yes, now if need to check this here's user type equal to ud dot driver, then we need to set this here id is equal to driver id columns for the booking tables, check times also need to check this years to give this here the start time, and need to is driver cancels need to set here 1 like these conditions need to apply for the drivers need to need this years inside the query. Now need to write down here where conditions need to write down here the conditions like this here, and into this forcefully cancels, then to set here the conditions is equal to blank, else parts need to call this here another conditions like this, and now need to write down here the SQL query need to write down here where SQL is equal to blank. Now need to check this here if booking status equal to bs dot wait go users public booking status equal to bs wait for users like the status, then we to need this here the update query is equal to sql is equal to need to write down here update booking detail tables and set here alias pd. Now need to join this query and to write down here inner join to user details is equal to as ud, and to connect with here the user accepted users need to connect here db dot driver id is equal to ud user like this set here, and another inner joins need to join here the user tables, user data to write down here, user detail as need to give this here UID on all this here BD dot user ID is equal to write down here UD dot user ID. Like these conditions need to apply this here. Another inner joins need to call this here the service details is equal to need to give this here st and on methods need to write down here bd dot service id is equal to dot service id conditions is apply and now need to set here the set columns value. First of all need to set here the bd dot booking status is equal to question mark. Now bd dots need to check this here is driver cancel question mark place bd dot stop time set here question mark and ud dot status is equal to set here one, and also ud dot status set here one like this sets here and to set here this set value. Now we need to write down here the where conditions to apply this year's booking status. First of all, need to need this here the booking ID for BD tables. Apply this here question and conditions need to apply here BD dot and also need to join this here the tables. Give this here as a value ID and like this question. If driver calls then driver ID use, user calls then user ID. We need to call this here as a ID. Set years and bd dot booking status less than question mark like this sets years and also need to apply here these conditions like this. So need to setting this years. Now also need to copy this query and else parts need to write down here same as here. First of all need to need this here no needs concatenates any user details need to remove here because this threads not started and so I not needs any informations related to this and also not needs here the service details tables need to remove here not matters here which will like this need to minimize this and optimize the joins. That's why I need to remove before maybe need to use but not set here the service related any conditions need to remove here. Then after so need to write down here the driver cancels and stop rides users related information no needs need to remove here set tables like this and also apply like these conditions so need to write down here and also helper or dlogs need to print this here as SQL query And maybe you need to give this here minimize modes, set here the noun times is like this set six. Now we need to apply here the conditions. We need to set if not false, then we need to write down here the and conditions and to write down here bd dot status booking is equal to question mark choice booking status. This is the append this query. If false, then do not apply this here like this status. Write down here the db dot query and we need to write down here pass here the SQL query and now we need to pass this here the data one by ones. First of all, need to give this here the booking status as a ps dot cancel. Then after need to write down here the is driver cancels. Need to set this here and also need to give this here the now times then user status no needs. Now need to give this here the booking ID booking ID and then after need to give this here the user ID parameters and give this here the large status. Need to check this here is pause close then to give this here the status 8. Otherwise need to give this here booking status like this. Need two conditions here the start conditions start after not possible to cancel. If you pause close then need to all condition ignores, that's why need to write down here the 8. Need to check here the 8 like this. Need to set this here the conditions and to apply this here. Now we need to write down here the gets here the callbacks errors and results. We need to return here for these functions callings and to function operator use this here. Now need to check this here if gets any errors then need to helper dot throw HTML's errors and to call this here the error parameters and response. Maybe no needs here response need to return here because need to call this here the functions. That's why. Then after need to check here if results affected row more than 0 but that's like this. I need to write down here this way and now need to check here if booking status more than booking is dot pending big then write is accepted, otherwise write not accepted. Write not accepted accepted like this condition here. If you not accepted not issue need to return here the callbacks events to write down here and to send here the response status is equal to 1 and to return this here the message right cancelled successful and to give this here also payload write down here the booking ID is equal to parse int and to do this here the request object booking, and also need to give this here the booking status is equal to bs cancel. Like this sets here the returns this callbacks need to return like here for this cancel this right. And also need this here the booking information because need to specify and need to use this here the driver id and user id needs here because need to send this here the sockets. If the driver cancel then need to send here the users, and like this we need to set here, but we need to create here the letters, and else parts need to write down here the return for that. Inside we need to give this here the status is equal to 0, then to write down here the message write cancel like this return. Also need to call this here the return response, paste this here same, but we need to add here some configuration related to socket. Now you like this here so needs socket related configurations are the needs here. First of all need to find out here the booking info to write down here the functions key info informations. Right. Give this here the booking id needs here, and to give this here user type, need to set this here status and result to write down your call function. Like this, we need to get here the booking informations and to write down here this function. First of all, need to integrate here related to your informations, and to write down here. First of all, to give this here user ID is equal to, and to save here the column names as user ID. Now need to write and to not displaying hierarchy, need to check here and to not use and to remove here this information inside this tables. First of all, need to write down here the switch case statements and give this here the user types. Yeah. Now need to set here one of like this. Give this here the user ID is equal to driver ID. Means here calls here the user API, that's need to get here the driver information. That's why I need to like this here and to write down here these conditions. Else parts to set here the type 2 of 2 columns like this. Give this here the user ID as a user ID. It pass this here and to set here the break state. Copy here and to paste this here. else parts need to give this here, same as paste this here, like this way. Now need to write down here the db query and to give this here the syntax. Bd. All informations needs here and after need to st all informations is service related and after need to give this here pd dot history and give this here pm dot history. On related information need to give this here z dot history and user format to need this here the name then after ud for gender then after need to give this here email ud ud longitudes you need give this let and child need to check this year's informations. Use this here the latitudes and longitudes, latitudes and like this needs years for this drive users. And after need to give this here the user tabs. But use tab. Then after need to give this here uv dot push open. Then after need to give this here cs dot call this here series name. Also need to need this here the same model name and to cb brand name. And then after this here ucd give this here the card number. Then after pd status to call this here the prompt tables to write down here okay detail tables use this here bd tag. Now need to write down here the inner join to get this here user id and to write down here ud dots and to join this here connected side on methods call this here like this is equal to need to give this here booking details id give this here the user like this joins another joins need to call this here and we need to write down CS. Format this text. Now need to write down here, copy this query and to paste this here. To call this here the UID and to give this here the user right. So right. No need circles need to use. This is the write books user ID information. You need to get this if here drivers, then to get here the drivers informations. Like this, we need to join this here the tables. Need to calling this here, and then after need to inner joins with the service detail table. As we need to give this here SD and to write down here on SD dot service ID is equal to BD dot service. Like this inner joins need to call this here for SD and another inner join, and to call this here the payment detail service payment detail table. As we need to give this here AD and on methods to write down here AD dot need to call this here payment is AD dot payment. To check also the database, these columns are available. Go tables, booking details, SQL pictures, ML years. This join these years. Another tables now need to join years. Write down here inner join, and to give this here the tables names need to give this here the price related information, price detail table. As need to write down here PM on PM dot price ID is equal to BD dot price ID sets. And to write down here zone detail. We check zone list tables. As need to give this here the ZLs is equal to on methods need to call this here PM dot zone ID is equal to ZL dot zone ID. Like this we need to set this here related to zones. And then after need to left joins need to call this here and to write down here user detail tables user car it to as with this here UCD dot need to give alias on and to write down here UCD dot user car ID is equal to call this here BD dot user car ID. Then another left join spot joins here left join and to joins here the another tables. car brands. Here, first of all, need to join here the car series because need to car details inside tables to get this here first car. To join this here the car series tables. And after the car model, left joins like this series. Use this here the alias CS. Use this here CMM. CM is good. As need to give this here as CB. And now need to write down here the on methods. On. And now need to join these tables one by one. Need to check this here CS dot series ID is equal to UCD dot series ID. And after CM dot model ID is equal to CS dot model ID. Like this sets here, and then after need to set here CB dot brand ID is equal to CS dot brand ID. Like this, we need to set here the conditions and we need to apply this here. Now need to write down here the where conditions and to get this here the information related to this booking ID. Key I set here the question in query booking ID. Get this here the information like this. If you passed here the multiple comma separators value, then to get this here the multiple informations for this booking information, need to get this here this query like this here. So if now need to get this here the any errors or this response, then to helper dot call this here helper throw HTML errors to write down here the errors not written here anything. And into results for each unit call this here. Maybe need to unused value need to remove inside this value. First of all, to write down here the remove unused data. Maybe no needs to direct pass on keys. Return callback and to get this here one and return this. Here's the more than zero else parts. Here's this here's also need to write down here zero and to give this here the response no booking informations like this query fix this here type like save this here and to call this here the booking information is to call this here topics this type of save here and now need to get this here the all informations all these functions need to pass here the booking id and also pass this here the user type and then after need to pass this here the callback functions inside need to get this here the best of status and results need to get here like this here. Now need to check this here the status is equal to 1 else parts to call this here return here callback and to write down here the response success status is equal to 0 and to send here message give this here status as a write cancels. Yeah. You not gets any information related to this writes and to like this pass here the message and then after need to call this here the helpers time durations need to find out years and to check this years time durations between the two dates you write down here one functions time duration in minute date 1 and date 2 like this to write down here callback functions so, see, now need to write down here the first now movement to pass this here the date then and maybe you need to change this here titles not now copy here paste this here and to write down here the date too like this and now need to check where durations is equal to movement dot duration and to give this here start if run now need to get this here minute is equal to movement duration as a minute minutes like these functions need to call this here now need to write down here the durations string is equal to UTC to call this here duration dot as milliseconds and two formats. This here SS that's what's okay. Total minute more than 60. Then we do this duration string is equal to need to copy and to change here the options. And now need to return this callback functions and to write down here the callback. Need to write down here the total minutes and to use this here durations as string. Like this, need to calling this here the functions and to call this here. Now need to go inside the booking cancels and to identify here the cancel helper dot helper time durations and to pass this here the date, give this here right cancel time, need to create here, then another times need to give this here helper class dot MySQL dates, pass this here the dates, the results 0 and to check times, give this here the columns and to return this here. Now need to get this here the total times, total minute, and need to write down here durations in string. Like this, need to return here this value and need to get here. Now need to check this here if booking status more than go users and less than or equal to PSK PS wait for users and to give this here the user tracking maybe not this now remove or now need to write down here the where emit methods need to write down here which is here user write cancel. Now need to give this here driver sockets another variables need to give this here notification types set where notifications message. Right, cancel like this. Need to give this here the message. Now need to check here if user type is equal to true, then need to call this here the limits and change this one. Right, cancel. Right, option one. Driver socket is equal to control sockets. This is use UDID user ID. Parts. We paste this year's MS need to pass this year. Driver. Now need to create here the response. Status is equal to need to give this here one and two. Past here the booking ID. Need this here informations. We paste this here. Also need to give this here the message. Right, cancel. This here not option. Now need to check this here. Need to find out here the driver software. We driver socket is equal to socket and socket ID. Like this, you need to get this here, this informations, and you need to fire this here, this here. Give this here the meets methods. You need to pass these variables here. Meet of here. See, write down here where conditions. And to send as a response, you need to fire this here, and also need to print this here. Helper dot logs. You need to print this here. Write cancel node notifications. And to call this meet methods name seconds to write down here like this need to closure node like this at CS. Now need to add this here one signal. 1 second to give this here the user tag. First here's maybe you did driver, and here you did users. Pass this here the type. Then after need to give this here the pass this here is. Now we need to get this here the message. Empty message, right, cancel like this. And notifications message need to give this here, and to set here the payloads. Copy here, paste this here, write down here to string. Sending here like this notifications, and notification ID also need to set. And the right cancels, and also return this callbacks. Copy here and to paste this here, return this here. And now need to write down inside the cancel write functions. We need to put this here, this data. Here we need to calling this here. User write cancels. Need to pass this here the ID. Request object or booking ID. And we need to set here the booking status. Request object status. And also need to give this here the request object or user ID. Now need to set this here dot driver, and also need to verify on. And when to return this here the ports, need to give this here the cancels, not ports close response. Okay, and now sessions need to call this here. Now we need to pass this here the response object. This is for the driver cancels writes, so need to calling this here like these functions need to call this here. Now same as we need to create here the user write cancels functions need to write down here, write down here user write cancels, same as we need to give this here the names inside the emit methods. Both are need to set here the same, that's why I need to change this here like this. cancels. And to write down this. Click here. Use booking status and booking like this. You need to passing this here the response, and you need to set this here. Also need to check this here. User save here for the write cancels for years, and same as need to write cancel pods. You need to call this here the API pods cancels, and to set here true. Like this, we need to setting this here the conditions and to write down here user write cancels pods, user write cancels, and driver cancel writes. Like this API we need to creating here for these apps, and tomorrow we need to calling this here the some API inside the Flutter apps. We need to starting here the callings. If you need any API, then to first of all the creates here the API, and then after need to calls inside the app sites. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up. If you're new user, so please subscribe my channels and press the notification bell icon. You can get every new video notifications and awesome content. If you have any question, so please write down the comment sections. I will help you and sort out your issue. Everyone have a nice day. Goodbye and take care.